No one's free here, and yours is an intimate relation with the pain of anklets. For 9 months and 9 days, right from the bag of skin you brought, the fire of carved musical notes in your heart and dancing bold lightning in your feet. These lines are from the long poem titled Aar Paar Layit Pranantik, or Deadly Rhyming Through, by Pradnya Dayapawar. This poem, which is an ode to the artist Vithabai Bhau Mang Narayangaonkar and which explores tradition, the lives of women in specific circumstances, and life itself through the life struggles of this artist, as well as the preface written by the poet and an erudite foreword by Dr. Maya Pandit, together constitutes the book Aar Paar Layit Pranantik. Today, in the 98th episode of Granthayatra, we are going to explore this very book. A warm welcome to all the viewers. Pradnya Dayapawar was born in Solapur in the year 1966. She is the daughter of the well-known writer Dayapawar. At present, she works as the head of the Department of Marathi at Jnana Sadhana College at Thane. In addition, she is also the editor of the magazine Parivartanacha Vatsaru, which means traveler on the path of transformation. She has 5 collections of poetry to her name with titles such as Antastha, which means deep inside, Utkat Jeev Ghenya Dhagivar, which means on intense, life-threatening heat, Mi Bhidvu Pahte Samagrashi Dola, which means I try to look the world in its eye, Aar Paar Layit Pranantik, or Deadly Rhyming Through, and Drushyancha Dhobal Samudra, or the Gross Sea of Visions. In addition, she has written a play called Dhadant Khairlanji, which means fake Khairlanji, and a collection of short stories titled Afwa Khari Tharavi Mhanun, or To Make the Rumor True. Collections of her column writings have been published under the titles Kendra and Parik, or Center and Periphery, Tehal Tikori, and Arvachin Arand, or Modern Forest. Vithabai Bhau Mang Narayangaonkar, to whom the poem Aar Paar Layit Pranantik is addressed, was a famous singer and dancer. Her father and uncle owned a traditional dancing troupe, or tamasha as it is called in Maharashtra. Through this poem, Pawar reveals that the tragedy in the life of Vithabai was not just her personal tragedy, but a consequence of the caste system, the class system, and patriarchy. She writes, O Vithabai, this is not your tragedy alone. Letters at a Brahmin's home, seeds at the farmer's, and only in the blood of our community flows the music. This is the tragedy of an individual who, being a Dalit woman, stands on the last rung of the society. She suffers insults not only because she is a Dalit, but also because of her gender in a society that is characterized by several types of inequalities. Cognizance of this double oppression was depicted for the first time in Marathi literature through Pawar's poetry. Earlier references to the lives of Dalit women were depictions of the male viewpoint. Pradnya Dayapawar is known as a prominent writer for her conscious depiction of the life and death of the downtrodden women, especially women forced to live outside the boundary of the village, says Dr. Maya Pandit. Referring to the life of Vithabai, who not only supported her own family but also more than 100 workers of the dance troupe through her performances, Pawar writes, Your performance of Gan, Gauran, Varg, Lavani, Batavani, the lightning cloud of coquetry, how often you extinguished in the pitch dark of the tent the commotion of the throbbing pain. With your family of drums and pipes and strings, you stood by with the same loyalty as to the string of black beads around your neck and stayed true to your performances. Through her poetic compositions that she used for her performances, Vithabai carried the message of transformation to her audience. Her troop was invited to perform for the army personnel fighting on the Nepal border during the Indochina War. Vithabai was married to a well-to-do person called Maruti Sawant. However, he later usurped all her earnings and abandoned her along with their 8 children. Vithabai then worked hard and diligently used her skills to survive despite the challenging circumstances of her life. Pawar deftly brings this out through her lines. You did not hesitate to use the hunter of lightning in your kit, with sharp, tapering, pointed nails and eyes piercing like the point of a needle. You devoured your old, intensely pure thirst. Despite facing stark adversity in life, Vithabai never appeared to be helpless. She overcame her sorrows and became self-reliant. Admiring Vithabai's fortitude, Pawar writes, "You had to appear wearing your anklets before the oppressive patriarchal swagger. You danced, terrifying, fantastic, an alluring reflection. You were caged always, yet never appeared vulnerable and beautiful like a slave." Through this poem, Pawar depicts that social constructs get solidified through oppression of individuals like Vithabai and unjust customs get normalized. She says, "Accounts of caste, class and gender are not things to be skimmed through and put aside. This is not a mere coincidence of biological accident. Society continues to be shaped by the experiences of an infinitely unequal pyramid." The poet acknowledges the relation between the primordial force in the universe and women like Vithabai who face the cruel circumstances of their lives with courage. She writes, "Dances Pawar, dances Vitha, using her body as a weapon beyond the physical, where the physical is immersed in the eternal forever." Dr. Maya Pandit says that this is where Pawar's poetry searches for a companion, a creative humanity that will re-establish the primordial relations between nature and humans. "Look with your eyes wide open at my hardy, dark, primordial man, who stands like a pillar of Shisham, feet firmly planted in soil and playing the drum ever since. He knows the fluttering of 1,000 contradictions in life, along with misery, destitution, and pain." Lives of women like Vitha are an endless circus of womanhood. The poet believes that the misery, deprivation, and pain inherent in those lives can only be understood by the original humanism. However, this natural compassion is now lost to humanity. The history of oppression of Dalits and women torments the poet. She feels that unless their untold misery, their tales, and their history is brought into limelight, our present will not strive for equality. This is because the methods of oppression of our times are different. Pawar writes, "This gigantic pestle of new capitalism moves over your intense color on the discrimination faced by the outcasts. The lower castes and women are being defiled. The village boundaries, which traditionally created the inequalities, are turning into shopping malls. The living skeletons of patriarchy, casteism, and class dominance are sprouting new inhuman tissues." The poet wonders how many can be saved from this oppression. How long can one protect the legacy of one's rightful space? Watching the sparks of revolution dying even before a call for rebellion is given, Pawar writes, "The belligerent sun rises each day and then quietly sneaks away." Watching the shameless oppression perpetuated on Dalit women and the deprived even today, the poet writes, "Cursory objectivity, cursory curiosity, cursory uneasiness, cursory anguish, cursory empathy I cannot express for your painful life. She feels that all the honors and awards conferred on Vithabai, the documentary and seminars based on her life are futile. Towards the end of her life, Vithabai Bhau Mang Narayan Gaokar faced penury. Despite enduring intense pain, she continued to sing. This the poet finds unbearable. But she has no strength to protest and cry out against this injustice. And yet, her mind nurtures the resolve to rewrite history in the name of Dalit women. She writes, "Let me write now some nascent pages of history on the physicality of migration that steps over hunger and stirs the bottom of life. Let me write now the thrilling, hurting, and bright revelation in the name of women, in the name of Dalit women, in the name of dark women, in the name of Nach girl, in the name of Pavada, in the name of Vitha." To tell us more about this poem that exists simultaneously on many levels, we have with us none other than the poet herself. Please welcome Dr. Pradnya Daya Pawar.
नमस्कार. विठाबाई भाऊमांग नारायण गावकर हा माझा कविता संग्रह 2009 मध्ये प्रसिद्ध झाला आणि त्यानंतर त्याच्या 3 आवृत्त्या प्रसिद्ध झालेल्या आहेत. मी आपल्याला दाखवू इच्छिते. खरं तर विठाबाई भाऊमांग नारायण गावकर हे आपल्या महाराष्ट्रातलंच नव्हे तर संपूर्ण भारतातलं एक अतिशय ख्यातकीर्त असं व्यक्तिमत्व म्हणता येईल. तमाशाच्या फडावर नाचणाऱ्या, ज्यांना लावणी सम्राज्ञी असा एक किताब गौरवाने दिला गेला, महाराष्ट्राने तो दिला, भारताने तो दिला, तर त्या विठाबाई माझ्या कवितेमध्ये आल्या. ते एक निमित्त म्हणताही येईल आणि निमित्त नाही असंही म्हणता येईल, कारण त्या तशा काही माझ्या नात्यातल्या किंवा माझ्या बिरादरीतल्या असं म्हणणं जरा अवघड आहे. पण तरीही मी त्यांना विठाबाई ही माझी सांस्कृतिक आई आहे असं म्हणते. आपल्याला असं दिसतं की संपूर्ण महाराष्ट्रामध्ये चाळ आणि टाळ, चाळ म्हणजे ह्या सगळ्या स्त्रियांचा तमाशाचा एक प्रतीक म्हणून चाळ, आणि टाळ आपल्याकडची महाराष्ट्रातली जी सगळी भक्ती परंपरा आहे, जो सगळा वारकरी संप्रदाय आहे, तर ह्या चाळ आणि टाळ याच्यामधलं एक जवळीक किंवा याच्यामधलं एक अभिन्नत्व हे सगळ्या महाराष्ट्राच्या लोककलेमध्ये, त्या सगळ्या संस्कृतीमध्ये आहे. पण विठाबाई आणि त्यांच्यासारखे अनेक जे लोककलावंत आहेत की जे बहुजन समाजातले आहेत, वंचित समूहामधून येतात आणि तमाशामध्ये नाचत असताना, फडावर नाचत असताना सुद्धा आपल्याला असं वाटतं कुठेतरी की ती एक मनोरंजन करतात, फक्त करमणूक करतात. पण या मनोरंजनातून आणि करमणुकीमधून एक प्रकारे प्रबोधनाचं काम करणं किंवा त्या सगळ्या जाणीवांचं एक प्रकारचं उन्नयन करणं, हा सुद्धा धागा या त्यांच्या कलेच्या पेशकशीमध्ये कुठेतरी दीर्घकाळ प्रबळ असा राहिलेला आहे असं आपल्याला नक्की म्हणता येईल. आपल्याकडे झालंय असं की एकूणच भारतातल्या ज्या प्रभुत्वशाली किंवा ज्याला आपण अभिजनवादी किंवा वर्चस्ववादी अशा ज्या धारणा आहेत, त्या धारणांमुळे झालेलं आहे असं की लोककलेचा हा जो एक खूप मोठा वारसा जो आहे, तो वारसा उरीपोटी जतन करणारे आणि त्याच्यासाठी पडेल ते कष्ट घेणारे, त्याच्यासाठी सर्व प्रकारची यातायात सहन करणारी अशी जी मंडळी आहेत, त्या मंडळींची थोरवी ही आपल्याकडे अधोरेखित झालेली नाही आहे. हे आपलं एक खूप मोठं करंटेपण आहे असं मला वाटतं. विठाबाईसारखी एक व्यक्तिमत्व की जी अतिशय जातीच्या स्ट्रक्चरमध्ये, जात उतरंडीमध्ये सर्वात तळागाळाच्या स्तरामध्ये जन्माला आलेली, पुन्हा आपल्याकडे पुरुषसत्ताक समाजव्यवस्था आहे आणि जातव्यवस्था आहे, वर्गवास्तव आहे, नवभांडवली व्यवस्था आहे, नवसाम्राज्यवादापर्यंत हे वेगवेगळे विषम अशा व्यवस्थेमध्ये हे सगळी मंडळी जगतात. आणि तरीही सगळी धग आणि रग एकवटून एक स्त्री जवळपास 100-150 जणांचा तमाशाचा फड उभा करते. तिच्या सगळ्या कारकिर्दीसाठी त्यांचा राष्ट्रपती पदापर्यंतचा राष्ट्रपतीचं सुवर्णपदकापर्यंत त्यांचा प्रवास होतो. वेगवेगळ्या विद्यापीठांमध्ये वेगवेगळ्या संशोधनामध्ये त्यांच्या कामाची दखल आणि योगदान घेतलं जातं. भारत चीन युद्धाच्या दरम्यान ते नेफा बॉर्डरवर जाऊन तिथे सैनिकांचं मनोरंजन करतात, त्यांचंही उन्नयन करतात. ही विठाबाई एक इंग्रजी काव्य परंपरेमध्ये जो एक ओड नावाचा एक प्रकार आहे, तर साधारण त्या धर्तीवर लिहिलेली ही एक उद्देशिका जी विठाबाईंना उद्देशून लिहिलेली आहे खरं तर. पण ती खरंच विठाबाईंना उद्देशून लिहिलेली आहे का, तर तसं नाही. विठाबाईंचं केवळ ग्राफिकल वर्णन करणारी किंवा त्यांच्या सगळ्या आयुष्याचं जगण्याचं ग्राफिकल वर्णन करणारी ही कविता अजिबात नाही. हे कुठेतरी माझ्या परंपरेकडे, वंचितांच्या समूहांच्या परंपरेकडे, पाळामुळांकडे एक वळून पाहणं आणि जो चेहरा पुसला गेलेला आहे या सगळ्या नायिकांचा, त्यांच्या कष्टांचा, त्यांच्या कलेचा, तो जो सगळा इतिहास डिलीट करून टाकण्यात आलेला आहे, तो कुठेतरी अधोरेखित करणं, तो ठाशीवपणे मांडणं आणि आपल्या पाळामुळांकडे पाहता येणं, त्या नजरेला नजर भिडवणं आणि आपला एक जो श्रमिकांचा इतिहास आहे तो श्रमिकांचा इतिहास उजागर करणं, हे कुठेतरी या कवितेतनं अगदी सहजगत्या घडलं. आणि हा एक कवितिक प्रवास हा माझ्या दृष्टीने एक खूप मोलाचा आहे असं मला नम्रपणे म्हणावंसं वाटतं. धन्यवाद.
Ar Par Layit Pranantik is not merely a poem of principles or merely a contemplative poem. Its theoretical core is touched by humanism and a deep, intense, authentic, and lively experience of life. A compassion that intimately understands human suffering, a deep understanding of the inherent power of people who triumph over their hardships and create something beautiful, and a passion to achieve a wise equality in future are all reflected in Pawar's poem. Do read and understand this powerful poem. Most of Pawar's writings have been translated into several Indian languages and into English and some other foreign languages. I'm sure you will like the writings of this contemporary author and poet. We shall meet again in the next episode of Granthayatra to understand a collection of short stories that explores the concept of self. Until then, keep reading.